everyone. So happy and a privilege to be here today. As we were just talking, I think it's been 5 years I've been working with Empower. And seriously, a privilege because I come all the way from Houston. I mean, that speaks loud in regards that the partnership is strong and the message is getting out there. I am very also humble and impressed about the poster. That is so nice. So I said, I don't need to be introduced. I've been seeing this picture all along. So yes, I am with a new company. It's called the Bridge Path. It started a year ago. My partner and I, we put our heads together. I've been in the industry of credit reports and credit counseling for 26 years. And finally, we took the plunge and said, hey, we can do this ourselves. And here we are. So for me, personally, what just changed, it's my business card. I still do the job that I love to do. I really love to do this, and that's why I've been doing it for this long. 26 with the previous company, 26 years, but actually maybe 30 years altogether in this industry. I love helping people. So the Bridge Path is a nonprofit agency, and we specialize on providing educational programs, workshops for consumers of all ages. Young adults from high school and to senior citizens. These presentations are taken everywhere in the state of Texas. I've been invited to be in Louisiana, and the other cities and states. So we are helping people with credit issues and budget issues in exploring their options and giving them recommendations on how to better themselves. That's what we're doing, that we want to get them out of debt, on the road to recovery, and to empower them. Yes, that's what we came into doing this business, that we need to empower people now with their choices and options that they have, instead of being told or being paying for services that are just taking sometimes advantage of them because they're not doing research. They feel that sometimes there's a quick fix out there, and there's nothing of a quick fix out there. It's just sometimes it creates more problems, and it gets them into further debt by doing the things that they're going to be doing with this agency. So I do recommend for them, or anyone, if you're going to be talking to anybody that they want additional assistance, to actually research those companies that they're working with. No company out there should be asking for fees up front. And again, making them, explaining all of this process, letting them think about it, and then come back and say, okay, I thought about it, this is what I want to do. But there's some agencies out there that will push them and say, hey, I have you here in front of me, or I have you on the phone, and it's time to sign up. And that is not something that a consumer should be put through. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my presentation. So I gave you guys a handout here. The book, Building Better Credit. It's just a resource guide for you, so you can have and take it home in case something that you want to share with someone else. You can refer back to the book. Actually, my presentation is based on this book, and you'll have your answers there, just in case you say, well, she didn't cover it, or I forgot, or how did she say it? You can have the book as a resource. The next page in there is this event evaluation form. So please, once I'm done with the presentation, do fill out the evaluation. We're a nonprofit agency, and this assists us for funding purposes. It doesn't ask you for your name, email, or nothing. It is confidential. The next form is about a TransUnion credit report and a dispute form. As I am going through the presentation, I'm going to point it out so we can bring it forward, and then I'll discuss it in more detail with you. There's a PowerPoint that goes along with this presentation because just to keep focus and give you the most important pointers right now of information, my notes is based on my PowerPoint, okay? Okay, so credit reports and credit scores, your personal credit right now. Personal credit. It's a very misunderstood topic, very confusing, and probably scaring to some people because what we've done up till today, you've been learning from each other. You hear this information that, oh, this is what happened to my mom and my dad, and this is what's happening to my sister, and this is what's happening to the people at work. And everything is different, right? Well, it is. It is why? Because credit is not a one-size-fits-all. You see? It is in the different situations. What I want to do today for you is give you a guide of what is credit, the credit scores, and how to interpret that information on your credit reports, and how to go about your disputes, okay? We're a small group, so in the presentation, if your questions are not going to be long-winded, I'll go ahead and answer, but if not, I'll stay behind. I will be here after the presentation, and you can ask me what needs to be asked, okay? So your credit report right now is being used for various reasons. Number one, yes, for credit approval. But now they're using your credit reports for when you're renting an apartment. They'll pull your credit report. Your credit report will also be seen depending on the new job that you're applying for. There's a possibility that your credit report is going to be pulled also. How would you know that credit report is going to be pulled for job purposes? It is normally right now what we're doing is applying with a resume. We're sending the resume, right? So if this employer gets interested in you, what they're seeing on your resume, they'll call you in for a interview. And when they're calling you in for that interview, they're going to ask you to fill out their application. When you fill out that application, somewhere on that application is going to have that they will either pull your credit report, do a background check, a drug test, depending on the job. It'll be on the application. So once you sign that application, you're giving them permission to do all those checks. That's how you're going to know if that job is going to be requiring to pull your credit report. A lot of people are finding out about that now too, that your credit report can be pulled probably based on the job that you're going to apply. And they're shying away from applying because they say, oh no, I have bad credit. Why am I going to apply? Right there, you know, they're already making their own decision. I recommend that go ahead and apply. Don't make that decision yourselves. Do not. Anyone that has that bad credit out there, do tell them, go ahead and apply. You just never know. If there's a possibility that they can write a message on the application saying, hey, I would like to discuss my credit issue, or if they're talking already to someone face-to-face, well, hello, that's why I'm looking for a job, because, you know, I can't pay bills. I haven't paid the bills. So give me the opportunity. All the qualifications are there. So if you have the opportunity to speak to someone, go ahead and explain. And be the first one to bring it out. Because the more forward that you are, the more they'll see that you're not hiding anything. That's why if you're not having that opportunity to speak to anyone, then write it on the application. I know that my credit is hurting, but I would like to discuss it with you. Then you don't leave it up to yourself. You know, you can go to sleep and say, well, it'll be up to them now. So those are some of the other new reasons that your credit report is going to be pulled. I'll go into inquiries, I'll go into credit scores, and explain all of this to you. So there's 3 credit bureaus out there. 3 credit bureaus. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are your major credit bureaus, okay? So what is the purpose? What are the services these bureaus are providing for us? And why 3? Why 3? Because not all 3 of them are the same. They're not. How many of you have seen your credit reports this year so far? Great. And you've seen your credit reports and you've seen what? That they hold different information, correct? They hold different information. By having different information, you're going to have different credit scores on each of the bureaus, okay? So what are the services in general these bureaus are providing? Number 1, it increases the access to credit. What does that mean? that when you're applying for a credit card, normally now it takes about a minute to tell you if you're approved or denied, right? Okay, so that's what it's doing. The second one, it decreases the time. Again, I've been having approved the application. It used to be like 3 days and weeks before we will hear from somebody. Depending on the loan, even a car loan, you pretty much can be told right there and then if a car loan is going to be approved or denied. A house, it's a little bit more lengthy, but you can get pre-approved, and that also can be done in a couple of hours, the pre-approve of a house. And then the mobility of credit. Technology right now, we move around. So if right now you're in Texas and tomorrow you're in California, you need something in California on credit, it can be looked up and give you that decision right there and then. The other one is the access to consumer products and services. That is when you're receiving pre-approved applications, the lenders are working behind the scene anywhere from once to twice a year and looking at our credit reports. And they're seeing what movement that we have, what are our habits of buying things and where. And then that's what creates and prompts the pre-approved application. It's a pre-approved application because they're not seeing a full picture. If you're interested and then you call the credit bureau, if you call the lender to say, oh, I received your application pre-approved, I want to see if I get approved now, then that's going to cause a hard inquiry when you call them. But by you receiving that pre-approved, it's not doing anything to your credit report. Okay? So once again, the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So Experian, their scoring system is called Vantage Score. The Equifax, it's called Beacon Score. And the TransUnion is called Empirica. E-M-P-I-R-I-C-A. Empirica Credit Score. Okay? I want to have you the relation of this information. So Experian is Vantage Score, Equifax is Beacon Score, and TransUnion is Empirica. Because FICO, the FICO score, it's alone by itself. It doesn't relate to the credit bureaus. FICO was developed in 1989. And that information from FICO, it is the information from all 3 credit reports. It pulls information, okay? So keep that in mind because I'm gonna take you through a flow here. Your credit reports contain your personal information, your lenders, your credit history. It also contains the inquiries, and it also contains public records. Public records will be your judgments, unpaid tax liens, bankruptcy, and this information, it is gathered from local, state, and federal courts. It's public records. So that's why it's the credit bureaus obtain this information and put it into the pertaining files. Okay? Let's go back into personal information on your credit files. Personal information, your name, your address, your phone number, your employer. Where do you think that information comes from? Anyone? Your vehicle?
When you apply for credit, you give them...
When you apply for credit, when you submit a credit application, the credit bureau is obtaining that information. So when you apply for credit, it's being obtained from the application itself. This right here, it's very important to know that that personal information, if you've seen your credit reports and you've seen addresses that are older, 5 years and older, and it hasn't been cleared out, it needs to be brought up to date. And that is done by you as an individual. You contact that credit bureau and let them know that, hey, it's been more than 5 years since I lived there. Yes, sir.
So is it negative to have old addresses that are greater than 5 years?
The clutter of it, and then depending, is it bad? It could. That's why I'm in this topic and I'm gonna spend a minute on it, because depending when you're gonna apply for something, especially when you're buying a house, the cleaner your report, the less clutter, the less aliases for them to check on, such as your names, and looking into all of this other information. So employments, if you haven't worked there 3 years and 5 years, and especially if that company went out of business, why do you have it there? Phone numbers back in the day, you changed the plans, it changed the phone number. So bring it up to date or just remove it. So that area, your personal information, is very important that you update it with the pertaining credit bureau. Just let them know that your personal information needs to be updated. The names have to be your legal name, not your nickname, not your short name. If I'm Josephine Jones, that's my legal name, and that's what I should be seeing on my credit report. But I shouldn't be seeing Josie Jones, J. Jones, none of that, because it captures it. And then again, when you're buying a house or a car, it's gonna create an alias. So you don't wanna waste your time for them to be looking into other names that are, not even existing. Yes, sir?
So if you apply the credit under this, maybe a nickname or something like that, you need to apply the credit. Sometimes they can ask for that nickname. You need to go back and just remove it just because it's not your full name.
Mm-hmm. Make it your legal name, right? Because once again, what you put in your application, that's the main thing. With your Social Security, everything comes up with your Social Security, okay? But for you guys, as seeing your history, your report, have it as current and as up-to-date as it can be, okay? So that's the personal information in your, on your history. Now let's go into inquiries. And also this page that I brought for you, the report itself. This one is one of the most, a little bit complicated, as you can see. Depending where you're pulling your report, it has different formats. But I wanted the more complicated because actually don't be afraid of it. Tackle it, read it. So the letters on the side, it gives you the explanation on the left side as to what it is, okay? What the content of the history is. So don't be afraid of it. Because if you wouldn't have these numbers, these letters here, and you look at this and it's like, that's Chinese to me, right? Or I don't want to tackle it because it's confusing. Don't shy away. There's other ones that are much easier. Depending where, again, you're getting your credit reports, there are different formats. The easiest will be because of the headings. It tells you everything in detail, like when the account opened, when is it due to fall off, what is this and that. It has more a detail. It makes it easier to read it, and it's okay. But if you were to come something across like this, and probably that's why we shy away from looking at our credit reports, is because that doesn't mean nothing to me. At least I know that it belongs to me, it has my name, right? And that's all you wanted to see. So no, all of the information, this is, I'm gonna go through it in the presentation, and now it's gonna make sense why is it there, okay? Are we doing good? Any questions so far? Okay, let's go into the inquiries. Inquiries every time your credit report is being checked, looked at, okay? Back in the day, we heard and learned from everybody that, hey, every time they pull my credit report, it's hurting my credit scores. Yes, so true, probably 17 years ago. But ever since then, another inquiry has been developed. So you have an external inquiry, which is known as a hard inquiry, H-A-R-D, and internal inquiry, internal. Internal is a soft inquiry. Internal, external, hard, and soft. Two types of inquiry. The hard inquiry, very easy to remember. The hard inquiry will be anytime you want something on credit. You're filling out an application and you need something on credit. It can be that car loan, it can be that credit card, anything on credit. And that's what's gonna hurt you when you are applying for credit, a hard inquiry. That inquiry will stay on your credit reports 2 years from the print date. It stays on the credit report. Now the soft soft inquiry. That soft inquiry, it is for whenever you're looking at your credit report, however many times in 1 year you want to look at that report, it's not hurting your credit scores. For insurance purposes, it's not hurting your credit scores. For employment purposes, it's not hurting your credit scores. So anything else that somebody wants to see your credit for the pre-approved purposes, it's not hurting your credit scores either. It's not. Again, the hard inquiry, very simple, one function for it, anytime you want something on credit. It's the hard inquiry, 2 years from print date. It also drops your credit scores anywhere from 3 to 5 points per inquiry. 3 to 5 points. Why the gap of the 3 to 5? Because depending on the lender and the formula that they're using, that's the range that it'll drop on your credit scores. So if right now you go happy at the mall and apply a couple places in 1 day, even let's say 3 places in 1 day, and let's put it at the 5 range, you have lost already 15 points right there in inquiries. So that hurts you, okay? So you have your hard inquiry, your soft inquiry, and you have your promotional inquiries too. When you see your own personal credit report, you will see all the activity that has been going on that report. But when the lenders are looking at your credit report, they will only see the hard inquiries, the hard, okay? You will see on your personal credit report, hard inquiry, soft inquiry, promotionals. The soft inquiries fall from your credit report within a year, okay?
Question.
Yes.
What's the basis of an inquiry hurting your report?
What is the basis of what?
Why would that an inquiry hurt your report?
Good question, very good. What is the purpose or why would it hurt? Your credit history, the information in it, the movement, whether it's positive or negative, those are the numbers being created for those scores that they have, whether within itself, the Vantage score, the Beacon score, or when they're pulling all the, FICO is pulling all of its information. So why the inquiries carry weight in a way that for the account, if you went and apply at a department store right now, the lender will not know if you're approved or denied. It takes 30 days for that information to hit into your the account if you're going to use it. The account will not hit until 30 days. So the lender is already assuming that, oh goodness, there's 5 inquiries and probably maybe either 1 or 2 of those accounts are active, will be active. So they're already computing a number and seeing that there's going to be activity on these accounts. You see that? So that's why inquiries, your name, your late payments, and all that takes effect or has an action. Yes, sir?
Is there any way you can correct that once it's been done? Say, for instance, you apply, you want to refinance your mortgage, and you decide you didn't want to do it. There's nothing, so you're just done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing that you can dispute any information thinking that it was probably identity theft, and it will be removed. But if you've done the action to see and you didn't go through it, it'll be put on your credit report, and it will take that hit also. Yes, it will. It will. So that's an inquiries.
Say soft inquiries taken for 1 year.
Oh, yes.
But it doesn't take away points.
No, you will see them. You only will see them on the side of when you're pulling your own credit report. Okay, are we good? We're still on the same page? All right, let's go into the FICO scores. So FICO scores, as I mentioned, it was introduced in 1989, and the vast majority of the lenders use this scoring system for a glance purpose. It's a number. So the higher the number, the better for us. But at the end of the day, for us, what does that mean to us? Because sometimes I've talked to many people and said, Ms. Perez, my credit score is 780 and I was just denied. Well, there's more elements to that. It's not just because of the credit score. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. So remember I told you the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion? Experian is the most often used credit bureau. Experian. Then Equifax, and then TransUnion. So I need you to be familiar that FICO score stands alone by itself and most used by all lenders for that quick glance of a number. And then the Vantage score, it comes from Experian. That's their scoring system. So FICO score ranges from 300 to 850, your FICO score. 300 to 850, okay? Just so you can have an idea where you're at right now, most lenders start giving you good products at a credit score of 640. Most lenders. So if you see your credit score, at the end of the day, now it's gonna have meaning for you. If you're 600 and below, guess what? Go home and clean house. This is the time. Do your updates, do your disputes, anything that needs to be done as a movement. Why? Because from there on, it can only get better. You're looking at the growth. If you are at 640 and above, don't touch it, don't breathe on it, okay? I don't want you to hurt yourself because remember, the movement, the activity that you do on your report, it has consequences in there. It's kind of like, have you heard, do I leave my credit accounts closed or open? What's the answer, my dear people? Open. You are such experts. Guess what? There's no right answer. You have to know your individual credit report in order to know what action you're going to take. Because if you close these accounts, you'll be freezing your credit report. You see, there's not going to be no movement, and I'll explain that in a minute. So it takes a hit. So when you're closing accounts, it's going to affect you negatively. Here, in the last 3 years, I've been reading up, and maybe at the end of this year, there's some changes coming along for us for our benefit. That will be one of them, that it shouldn't hurt us to close our own accounts. The second one changes about medical accounts. They're being viewed negatively on our credit reports. Well, it's going to take a different look now. So as you can see, there's changes within the bureaus themselves, and they're coming down the pipes here quick. Yes, sir?
Didn't they just pass something about liens being taken off also?
It'll be at the end of the year. That's another one. Yes, the liens, how they're going to be taking place into your reports too. Mm-hmm. So the Vantage score ranges from 990, and the lowest will be at 501. The Vantage score. Why am I telling you about the Vantage? Because remember, Experian is the most often used credit bureau. Okay? So with that said, and I was telling you, ooh, you have this credit score, right? And you're happy, and you're thinking you're ready to go and do business out there. Well, it takes also the 3 C's of credit. Have you heard of that? That letter C, the 3 C's of credit. Anyone heard of them? Nope. Okay, let me introduce you to them. Because with your credit score and the letter C's, that helps you to get a better understanding where you're at. The first one is capacity. The first C is capacity. So that means your income. Do you have enough income to support the new account? Do you work regularly? So that's capacity. The second C is your character. Your character. The second C is a character. So have you used credit before? Have you paid it on time? How do you manage your credit? That's your character. That's your being. How responsible are you? And the last C is your collateral. So collateral, it can be looked at as, do you have a savings account? Do you have a checking account? Where have you used your money? Is there another way to guarantee this account if needed? You know, there's some accounts that you need to put something down on this collateral, some. But that's what they're looking for. You have capacity, character, and collateral. That information is being gathered from your credit application. It's not nothing that is going to be like in that sequence. When you write down your income, that's what they're getting, the capacity right there. When you write down, oh, I have Macy's, Discover, and this, that's how they get the character part, okay? The collateral part will come, oh, I do have a savings, I've paid off a car, and I have a checking account. So that's how they gather the collateral part. So with the 3 C's of credit and your credit score, voila, you have arrived. It doesn't guarantee it 100%, but you're more at 80 and 90%. Yes, ma'am?
That's why the inquiries report on the credit report speaks to the character. The inquiries speak to what your habits are.
Yes.
And if you're applying for a whole bunch of different accounts, and you go apply with a new lender, they
Right.
can see those hard inquiries, so they'll wonder what's going on.
Yes.
Why are you applying so much? Are you being denied?
Yes.
So that's why the inquiries are, to answer his question.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're there.
Yes, that's the play of the inquiries on the credit reports. Exactly. Thank you for that. So are we good? Right? Okay, there's a way also to obtain your credit report free once a year. Did you know that? Where from? Huh? Annualcreditreport.com. Annual credit report. It's in the little book, okay? Just in case. Annualcreditreport.com. If you want to go online and get them, all 3 of them, completely free. All 3 of them from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Once a year, free. You can share this information with your friends and family and coworkers because this right here, it was developed for us consumers by the FACT Act, F-A-C-T, which is the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions. So it's telling the credit bureaus to give us the opportunity to see our credit reports once a year free. So if you go online, be very careful because it's sensitive. It's going to ask you for some questions. You answer one wrong, it'll kick you out. And it'll say that you need to deal with them by mail. And if not, like I said on the book, it is the website, the mail address, and the phone number in the little resource book. It has it, okay? So I'm getting to the habit of pulling your credit reports once a year and become familiar with it, and don't be afraid of them. Look at them, because it's becoming more and more important as a financial tool, and you need to be aware of what's going on. Yes, sir?
But that doesn't give you a score. That's different, right?
Exactly. It does have the credit scores. It will sell them to you. Yes, at this site, Annual Credit. It will sell them to you. So if you want to buy them, go ahead. It's coming directly from the credit bureaus, okay? So for now, as you're learning how to interpret the credit report, if you're doing the right thing, your credit scores will grow. You don't have to be looking at them, and you don't have to buy them. Do the right thing, and that's what you're, I'll get here in a minute to what the, for the credit scores, how it grows. You had a question?
Also, when you apply to someone, when you apply and they deny you, they send you a letter, and then the letter so that you can get your credit
Yes.
score free because of that denial.
Exactly, and then only from that bureau.
Only from the
Yes.
they
They will tell you from which bureau they pull, and that's the only one you pull from. Yes. Let me tell you that how the credit scores for FICO are, it's the formula. Just so you can know how this is growing, how the growth of the credit score is. It's a pie chart, it's a circle, and let me tell you that 35% of the weight of how your credit scores, your FICO score grows, 35%, it is by making payments on time. Pay your bills on time, and that gives you 35% of the weight of your FICO score. 35%. 30%, it is by having the control of your lines of credit on credit cards. Back in the day, about 5 years ago, it used to be if you're using your credit cards and you were using anywhere from 50 and 30%, we were doing okay, it was good. But here in the last 3 years, the lenders are very strict, and they want to see us only using 30% or less of that line of credit. Because if you're if you have a line of credit of $900, let's say, and you're at $850, they see you as a high risk. they'll say that there's no room for emergencies, there's no wiggle room, and you're just about that close to going over the limit. So it's better to have less. And also in credit cards, it's not bad having credit, it's just knowing when to use it and how to use it. So right now, less is best on credit.
And also with that is, because some people get credit cards or get credit and they think because if they have $5,000 and they use $4,000, they think, well, as long as I pay it on time and pay it all off, that's good, but it's not, right?
It's not. No, it's not correct. Why? Because just as I'm saying right now, that's why I wanted to share the breakdown right here. If you're not making payments, how's the credit moving? Your history, how's it moving if you're not making payments? You see, that's why it's a formula of several components that you need to know on your credit report. A lot of people tell me, Ms. Perez, I do pay off an account at the end of the month. Well, that's fine, okay. But if you have other three that you're making payments, that's carrying the weight of the activity on the report. You see that? Yes.
That sounds like a scheme, because in order for you to build credit, then you've got to pay off over time and incur interest.
But that's why in a line of credit of $1,000, you're using 30%, maybe $300 or less. Yes, there's interest, but that is a whole lot that when you're at $999. You see, I know, I hear you. And that's why I'm here with you in front to tell you, you don't have to be up there and having 5 accounts. You can have 2 accounts and have it down here at a control. Yes, sir?
Are you penalized if you have like that third you're talking about for some 40% of your regular credit used, and you pay it off totally every month? Are you penalized?
Yeah, because you're penalized. No, you're penalized because if there's no other accounts, if you have your mortgage payment and your car payment, making payments on those 2, that's carrying the weight of having some activity on the report. But if you pay the credit card off and that's all you have on your credit report, they don't see how responsible you are making monthly payments.
So you get a house or whatever, or a car, or the other things.
Mm-hmm.
You still say that still hurts you. You have to start doing this other activity.
No, no. I mean, again, look at your credit score today. If it's above 640, you're doing something good. Keep it up. But if it's below 640, it's not working what you're doing. Got it? That's why I want to clear out that confusion for you. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, ma'am.
No? Okay, we're doing good. So also the variety of accounts in your credit report hold different weight also. The variety, meaning that if you have a mortgage loan and you have a car loan, you have a couple of credit cards, the priorities of the accounts, when you miss, let's say, a car payment, how many points do you think it's gonna drop you?
Minimum 40 to 100.
Exactly. Depending on the lender, it can be up to 50 points in one payment. So you see how quickly that drops? So having a variety of accounts, it has different weights to them and different amount of points. If you were to file bankruptcy tomorrow, you will drop 200 points right away. Yeah. So a variety of accounts. So just so you can see the formula and how this calculated and how these numbers come together for you. Okay? Any questions about that?
So when you want to close an account, is it okay to close it, or because I was told to pay it off and just don't close it, don't use it for certain time, and then it will close on its own and it won't.
It could close on the lender if they don't see activity. Sometimes within the most is a year, they'll close it on you, but. It all depends. If you have other accounts moving around in there that you're making payments, activity, your payments, 35% of payments carry that weight. So if you have something else in there, that's what will help you, that if that one closes, it is all right. It'll establish the report again anywhere from 6 months, at least 6 months, to get you back again to where you were at. Yes. Okay?
So you told us that 35% of the FICO is paying accounts on time, 30% is have control of line of credit. Where does the rest of it come from?
I just mentioned also the variety of debt,
Okay.
and that carries the weight of 10%. The other 10% will be the numbers of inquiries on your credit report, how new is the account, that's a 10%. And 15% when the time it opened, you last used, you last paid, that's 15%. So you have 35, 30, 10, 10, 15. That's the weight of your FICO score. Yes, ma'am.
So in that last piece, the 15% is what she was asking about with regard to an account closing. Because the length of time you have credit affects that 15%. So
Yes.
if you close an account to one of your oldest accounts,
Deal.
that's where you lose your points because it looks like you have shorter credit history.
That credit history, exactly. Meaning that, you know, you're freezing your information and you look like a new person using credit. So be very careful that with this information, now you'll see it and it's like, there's sometimes the credit bureau will leave accounts that are 10 years old, paid off accounts, just to help us, showing that we're not newcomers to this. Sometimes. Yes, yes, ma'am.
How do you put your children on your credit report?
How do you put them?
My son, well, he was on there, and his credit score was really high, and it was because of my credit.
Oh, you probably made him an authorized user or a joint, authorized or joint. When you fill out the application, you put his name somewhere. Yes, you did. And that's how he's getting credit now. So be very careful when you're giving out your credit because you don't know what the next person, how responsible they are. Your credit is very important and hard to build. That once that other person, they get like, oh, well, it's good credit and I can get credit now. And if you don't detach, it'll affect you what they're doing.
How do you detach?
You call the lender and let them know that the account is joint or authorized user. Some of the lenders will want to see that account paid in full before they can, and then they issue another account. Some lenders, like I said, you need to call them and ask them now that you're established or you're saying enough is enough. How do I get this person out of my report? It'll be up to the lender individually.
Are we talking about the same thing when I say co-signing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that it?
Co-signing, joint accounts, and authorized accounts. A person of 21 years and younger, by law, they shouldn't have any credit cards. The exception will be only if they have proof of income or if they're joint or authorized users. That's the exception. It's a law in 2009. It just
College, like college students get cards all the time.
depending on their age, you see. But 21 and under, again, if they have income and they have proof of that, or if they're going to be authorized users or joints, they will have the 21. But it's becoming a little bit more stricter because that's where it came from. That in 2000, at college and registration, you will see all these tables and giving credit left and right in a slice of pizza or a T-shirt. Yeah, and everybody got in trouble. So, I'm sorry, you had a comment.
The authorized user, part of the legislation you mentioned earlier, is changing like with medical and liens and stuff like that. The authorized user that way is changing as well. And so it's really not wise to have credit in your kids' names and such, because like that debt to income ratio and stuff like that, a lot of times your kids then will have
It will
credit
affect
cards
them.
older than they've been allowed to work. And when they apply for something, then the debt on your card will affect them first as well.
It'll
So that's
affect
what
them.
you're seeing for them is not really real credit.
Okay, we're good? All right, let me jump into your dispute form. In the book, in the resource book has, if there's something wrong that needs to be updated, it's not yours. A lot of people say, well, I don't even know how to do that process too, or how do I start? Well, I'm sharing with you a very simple form. Just read the instructions on the top. And depending on the credit report that you're looking at, you will send only to that pertaining bureau the information. The contact information for the bureaus are at the bottom, okay? And it gives you instructions, very simple. You don't have to write paragraphs and a long letter, nothing like that. just alerting them that it's something that is not yours or it's not current, or it could be probably identity theft, it'll prompt them. They know what to look for too. So just send the right documentation, always send your copies, and that's it. It takes 30 days for them to review, to do this investigation, and then they will notify you back on their findings. Is it favorable to you or not favorable? And then from there you continue to dispute it, or it's been handled. So don't be afraid of also tackling the disputes. This form right here will assist you. And for credit, as I've been mentioning all along, it's very important, your personal credit, to make it the strongest and the most updated right now, because if you're looking for into business credit, your personal credit cannot be left behind. It's gonna carry some weight when you're looking into business credit. So don't think that you can skip your personal credit and jump into business credit. It's not gonna go like that. Depending on the situation, you're the company is you, depending on the LLC and how you register and all that good stuff. As you're building, yes, you will have to separate business from personal. It is much recommended to do that, but have your personal credit the most strongest right now. And then everything, again, it works, it has a flow to it. It's not just stay on top of it. Yes, sir.
Two things. One, because we're on time, I want to make sure we respect everybody's time.
Yes.
We have to leave, it's fine, and then we'll try to wrap it up. But as far as the disputes, so if you have let's say a list of things that's on your credit you're disputing, you send a dispute to each bureau. And also, I heard that it was recommended not to send all of them at once, because credit bureaus kind of like, that's a red flag for them also. So if you had like 10 things and you send a dispute for all 10 things at once, I heard that it was not wise to do that. What do you say about that?
I have not personally heard that. I mean, it's information that you're interested in getting resolved, so they shouldn't have a limit of only 3 or just 1, or I've never heard that. I'm sharing a form, but you can also go online. And with the pertaining bureau, you can get into doing it online if you wanted to. But again, just to see, for you to see that it's nothing so complicated and something that you need help with or somebody to pay. And speaking of which, again, be very careful if you're looking for outside help from a credit repair clinic, because there's no such thing of repairing your credit. It's only us that can do this work. And I've given you the guidelines and the tools right now, just so you can start as a baby step, at least for now. Any other questions or comments?
We can contact you or your company and kind of get...
Yes, since I don't have the PowerPoint with my contact information, I have some business cards here, if you'll like them, okay? I thank you so much for your time. Thank you.